Okay, so you've got a choice here because the next two albums came out on the same date. So
Should we just should we go for idols?
we just yeah, let's do idols then.
Do you want me to start?
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay, so as you were saying, this was released on the same day as the other album, so it was released on the 29th of September under Partisan Records. There's 12 songs in the album, it's approximately 42 minutes and 53 seconds long. It's the band's third studio album and has been largely well received with the likes of some media outlets such as Louder Than Wars, John Robb rather, hailing it as the album of their careers. What's your thoughts, Neds?
I think that's a pretty bold statement.
Yeah, I mean, I like Idols, but I'm by no means a massive fan, in that you know, I don't own any of their music. So this would, I suppose, be the first Idols album that I've listened to in its entirety. So
Mhm.
it could very well be in keeping with the stuff that they've done previously, but I really only know like Danny Nadelko, Never Fight a Man with a Perm, Colossus, Mother, those types of songs. Um, and there were songs on this album that I really enjoyed. I found the opening track "War," which opens with this kind of dirty guitar grunt, and Talbot's trademark shouty vocals. Um, that was all right. It's kind of starts off with this kind of what I've described as some truly interesting onomatopoeic expressions, which seem to document the various different ways a war has been waged over the years, starting with the waching of the sword going in to the tuck tuck tucka sound of the drone bomb pusher. There's this kind of raucous bridge at around the kind of 1 minute 30 mark with some jaggy and stuttering guitar flourishes. There's a group vocal segment with this band sing with where the band sings "This is anti-war," and interestingly, I thought there was a change in Talbot's vocal style towards the end of the track, which for my money was reminiscent of the late great Joe Strummer, which I quite enjoyed. And if the first track is all about war, then the second track, Grounds, is definitely a call to arms. It's kind of chock full of politically charged sentiments and expressions. It starts with a single looped electronic note, which becomes a refrain throughout the course of the song. However, it doesn't really gain momentum until the end of the song, to be honest, on the outro. And I kind of wish there'd been a bit more of that. There's some pretty harsh sounding guitar arpeggios, and I think there's the odd bit of fuzz and reverb chucked in there for good measure as well. But then I feel as if it just kind of gets a bit samey, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I like those three. So our first three tracks, I think, are good, like War, Grounds, and Mr. Motivator.
So
The kind of
Grounds, Mr. Motivator were two of the singles that were released.
yeah, but and like yeah, they're good. They're pretty good songs. I think Anxiety is where the kind of cracks start to show a wee
Yeah.
bit for me. It's quite like the kind of bare bones of the song are quite kind of generic, and there's not all that much to get excited about. And but it's kind of the lyrics and the melodies that start to bother me more than that, and it's
In
especially later in the
anxiety,
song. Sorry.
in anxiety, or in
In
that.
anxiety, yeah. Well, I mean, I suppose it's a comment on much of the album, to be fair. But on anxiety in particular, there's later on the song, the kind of lyrics where Joe Talbot's kind of saying "car crash country, car crash scene," and it's every lyric has just got this sort of la di da di da di di kind of sound, and it's repeated, and it's like a children's nursery rhyme, and um, some people are into that, but I kind of find it a bit boring. And actually, it's interesting. I went to see Joe Talbot, a conversation with Joe Talbot. I think it was the end of last year.
Yeah.
I just happened to get tickets for it, and he mentioned that on the previous album that he'd kind of ad-libbed some of the lyrics on there. So I don't know if that's part of the reason some of the lyrics like lack a bit of bite or impact, and or seem maybe a bit simplistic or childish, but that could just be. I don't know if he's ad-libbing lyrics on this album or not, but that's definitely, it's certainly something he said that he did do on their previous album. Joy is an act of resistance.
Yeah, see, I don't know what to really make a lot of the lyrics, to be honest. As it, I mentioned grounds being a kind of call to arms and it being kind of chock full of kind of all this kind of political sentiment and expressions, but I don't know if, I mean, it doesn't really make all that much sense to me. I can't really follow the thread.
Yeah, I think there's
Makes sense. Like I can't really tell where their kind of political or moral compass is, to be honest, because I would assume that they're on the left. However, like there's a part in, I think, is it maybe the second or third verse where um I think the opening line is nothing in the world or nothing has ever been mended by sitting there telling me that you're offended or something to that effect. And I didn't know. I'm maybe not smart enough to get it. I really don't know, or politically aware enough to kind of know or get it. I don't know what your thoughts on that were.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think the message that from Idols is that they're kind of. I think they are a kind of a band who are far on the left and all about kind of social justice and fighting against inequalities and stuff like that. I just I think I don't know. Sometimes that doesn't necessarily come through in the lyrics, but other times it feels like they're hitting you over the head with it. It's there's sometimes there's a lack of subtlety rather than the other way around.
Are you
Um,
talking about, say, the likes of Reigns, where he says something like, "How does it feel to have blue blood coursing through your veins? How does it feel to have shagged the working class to dust?" Or
yeah,
something like that.
I actually quite like Reigns to be
Reigns, to be
honest, but
fair, I know you're not a massive fan of it, but like I like Model Village. I did like Model Village. Like we said, there was a kind of dip in energy for me, kind of round about, anxiety onwards, but I did quite enjoy Model Village. It is probably one of my favourite tracks on the album. I don't know if you're a fan with them or not, but the chorus or the vocals on the chorus, or rather the prelude to the chorus, reminded me a bit of Sleaford Mods.
they're not a band that I'm overly familiar with. But I have heard them in the same breath as Idols quite a lot.
Yeah. Uh,
Um, I mean, I'll come back to Model Village. When I was talking about kind of this sort of hitting you over the head kind of thing, it's mostly apparent on the track after that, Ne touche pas moi, which is
yeah.
basically a song about.
Catcalling and stuff, like that, isn't it?
Sorry,
Is it about catcalling?
yeah, that and like guys touching women on the dance floor and like stuff like that. Just a commentary on consent and what I mean. That's a good. Obviously, it's a good message, but I just feel it's handled in a kind of a quite a ham-fisted way, and it feels like I don't know. It feels kind of like mansplaining or whatever, and it kind of explaining in simple terms to idiots under the guise of being like clever because they're saying it in French. Like I don't know. I don't mind that song, but it just at times I sometimes feel like I'm being talked down to. I don't know if that maybe that's my issue. I don't know, but particularly on that song. But I guess that's. I mean, there are people out there that obviously think it's fine to just grab somebody in a club or whatever, and they do need kind of talked down to in that kind of manner. So anyway, we can go back to Model Village, which uh, I think is crap. um,
I liked it, man.
I
It kind
really,
of it kind of reminded me of that. See that kind of staggered guitar arpeggio. It kind of reminded me of the Jams Bomb in Mordor Street. Albeit a bit more up tempo, but no, I enjoyed it, man. Like I quite liked it.
I don't really like that kind of bouncy guitar, and I think that the lyrics aren't great. Joe Talbot says the village 30 times in the song. Um,
Because it's something something in the village, something something in the village, isn't it?
it's just village constantly.
There's a lot of white faces in the village. You drive half cut in the village. It's all stuff like that, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's again, it's a kind of message about small town mentality and growing up in a small town and that yeah that small minded attitude and we obviously you've shown that mug there we both in a small town but that I still don't really have any kind of reverence or nostalgia for this song really. I just don't really like it.
Fair.
I feel like I'm talking down on this album quite a lot, but I don't hate it. I like I said, I think the first few tracks are quite strong. I like Rains. Um,
I quite liked him as well. I think that was another single that was released.
I honestly I think a hymn is the best song on the album, Grant. And it's just because it's completely different from everything else that's on it. Everything else is quite samey.
Yeah.
Um, I mean they do lots of different things, but it gets old, I think, quite quickly. But a hymn is um is totally different, and it just feels like more like a proper song, like because of that, I think. So yeah, I really do like a hymn, and honestly, I think that should have been the last song on the album. I don't hate Danke, but I feel like a hymn would have been a good way to close it out.
Yeah.
So I mean, so I don't know if this is their strongest album to date. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how other Idols fans would feel about that. I think I I thought Joy I can't remember what it's called now.
Joy's an act of resistance.
Joy is an act of
First album
resistance
was
was
Brutalism, I think.
yeah. So Joy. So I haven't heard Brutalism, but I have heard Joy is an act of resistance, and Danny Nedelko is a genuinely brilliant song.
Yeah.
And I like some of the other songs on there, but again, it's an album I think is okay, and I don't know if this is better or worse really. Because again, there are some songs in here I like, and there's others that I'm a wee bit cold on. So as far as like, if you're an Idols fan, then you'll probably really like this. And if you hate Idols, you'll probably hate it. If you're somewhere in between, I think you'll just stay there. I don't think there's anything in particular that's gonna change your mind. Like I certainly haven't like I've not gone from being a sort of somewhere in the middle to being
An
stronger in
ultra
any other
fan.
direction. I still don't love the band and I still don't hate the band. I just think they're all right and they do have some pretty good songs. And but that's as about as far as it would go. So I think I'd probably land on a 6 for this.
That that's what I gave it, and for those same reasons, man. I mean, I could see myself picking out a couple of the songs,
Yeah.
maybe, but I can't see myself going back to listen to the album in its entirety.
Yeah, I kind of got I think I got a wee bit carried away with the hype like surrounding the band and was like I
Sorry,
went
like we had this conversation, like, are they the biggest band in the UK at the moment? Because it seemed like it for a while.
yeah. And I mean I was asking people that question in Facebook groups. I was posting our kind of discussion about the live performance they did, which I still maintain was very, very good. And I think some of these songs will I mean, I know some of these songs sound fantastic live because they were in that
Yeah,
set.
yeah,
But that question are IDLES the biggest band in the in Britain? Brought like, it brought like people were like, you're a fucking idiot, or people
Of
were,
course they are.
yeah, exactly. Like it was a very divisive thing, and I mean, I think there was a lot of hype surrounding them, but they're not the biggest band in Britain. I mean, Biffy Clyro are far bigger. I mean, Liam Gallagher, you know,
Yeah.
but in terms of maybe hype and being the band of the moment, um, was more what I was going for with that, really.
Uh-huh.
Um, but don't know where I was going with that, Grant. I think I've come to the end of it, but yeah,
It is just kind of meh, isn't it? Like,
I think it's a bit better than that because there are some genuinely good songs on it. But it's not the be all and end all of like post punk or whatever. I mean, if you want a really good post punk or punk band, go and listen to Viagra Boys
yeah,
instead. You
aye,
know, I would far rather go and listen to Viagra Boys than re-listen to this.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I feel like I'm like shitting all over it a wee bit, but I don't really want to because that's not how I feel about it.
Yeah. And they're angry men. They might come and yes,
Might come and stab me up.
stab you up in the village.
Yeah. Um, yeah, but I'll live and die on the hill that says Model Village is a terrible song. Yeah. Anyway, so that was Ultramono by Idols. And yeah, if you like Idols, you'll probably really like it.
That's the sound of strength in